Hi there and welcome back. This is Jennifer McGuire. I've done many videos in the past showing how to cross-stitch or stitch on cards, and I have recently gotten some requests to do some more, so I thought I'd show you how you can use your dies that are meant for stitching to create shaped cards. I have lots of examples to share with you today, and I am just over the moon about these cute little critters. I created these with some fun dies from WPlus9, and I'm going to show you many ways to use them. Now let me show you all of the die sets first. This is the WPlus9 Plush Friends Pup die. So you can use these pieces to create a cute little puppy, or you can even make a pig out of it, and I'll show you both today. There are also lots of little accent pieces like little flowers, a large heart, and a stitched heart. So you can use these for other things too. Like you could use the heart alone and create a fun little stitched heart, or you can create the little critters. Another new stitched die set from WPlus9 is called the Sucker for You dies. Now these create little lollipops. There are a few different styles. Some you can stitch, some don't need stitching at all. And there are sentiments like I'm a sucker for you and hey sweetie. There's even a cute bow die in this set. Next we have Sweet on You dies. This creates really cute ice cream cones. You can even make it like a few scoops. You can put hot chocolate on it, a strawberry, whipped cream, cherry, sprinkles, and there are the sentiments You're So Sweet and Sweet on You. Next up is the WPlus9 Stuck on You dies. Now this one you can actually use without using any of the stitching portion, so you can actually cut those dies apart, so you just use the outlines instead. And you can interchange all the stitching portions if you want. It also die cuts the words Stuck on You. Super cute set, and I have an example showing that one at the end. Here is the WPlus9 Needlepoint Hearts dies. Now this one doesn't actually cut shapes, but only the pierced holes so that you can do stitching of hearts. These are excellent for little background images or even the focal point of a card with a simple sentiment. Now, a while ago, I think like a year ago, WPlus9 came out with Plush Friends Panda die. I used it several times on my own, but I never shared it in a video, so I thought I would include it today. It works much like the pup one that I showed you earlier, but it creates a cute panda, and there's a large flower die in it. Okay, so let's start with this card example first. This one's one of the more complicated ones, so I thought it'd be a good place to start. It's actually a folding card. It folds on the left, and it does stand up on his little feet. I'm using that little pup die that I showed you earlier and die cutting it with my Gemini Junior die cut machine. However, this works with any die cut machine you may have. And I'm actually going to cut 2 of those pup shapes. While I'm die cutting, I'll also cut the little accent pieces to finish off the pup. I'm just using regular craft cardstock for this. Any cardstock should work, but I do recommend a heavier weight cardstock. Now I have one of my little pups here, and I'm going to create a score line about a 1/2 inch from the left side. This will allow me to create a card. It may not make sense here, but I promise it will in a moment. After I've created my score line, I'm just creasing that so that it has a nice hinge there. This will form what makes our card open and close. Now the stitching that I'm going to show you today I feel is the easiest way to stitch around a critter die like this. I've done many videos in the past, and I'll link to one here if you really want a better vision of how to do this stitching. This is just the simplest way, and this is how I taught my 5-year-old. I'm starting up on his left ear because that will be hidden by that little hinge that we're creating on our card. Putting a little piece of tape there on the back to hold the end. Now I'm going to go up and down every hole. This is a really easy way to stitch around the whole outside. I'm using DMC Floss here. This is what cross stitchers often use, and I have all 6 plies together. I've used a variety of different types of floss in the past, so you really can use whatever you may already have or can easily find. Now you'll see I'm just going up and down every other hole. And I'm going to keep doing this until I'm all the way down by his left foot. Once I reach his left foot, I'm going to change directions. I'm not going to do stitching around that hinged piece just yet. Now when I change directions, my stitches will fill in the gaps. So I'll have stitches between every hole. Now, I know there are a lot of stitching, embroidery, or cross-stitch experts out there who will have many different ways to do this, but again, I'm just going for the simplest version. This is something I even do on my treadmill. So once I've gone all the way around and reached back up at that left ear, taping off the end here, then it'll be time to do the exact same thing to our other little pup, the one that doesn't have the score line. So I'll do the exact same stitching just all along his body except for that left edge. And when I am done with both pieces, I have two pups with everything stitched except that left edge. Now it's time to put these together. The scored pup goes on the back and the flat one goes on the front. I'm putting some strong tape here to hold that little flap to the front pup. You don't need to do this tape since we're going to stitch it. However, I find that it helps hold it in place while we stitch. So now it's time to complete the stitching. And the stitching will hold the two pieces together to create the card. I'm going to start up at the top once again, and I will go up and down every other hole till I reach the foot. This time I'm not taping the end of my string, I'm just holding it there. So here I'm going up and down every other hole until I reach the foot. Then I will reverse direction and go back all the way up to the ear, filling in the gaps. Now there are many ways you can tie off the ends of your floss when they meet again. Lots of tricks that you can do to hide it. I'll be honest with you, what I find fastest and easiest to do is to tie a simple knot, then use a little bit of glue to just hold the ends down and hide them. So here I'm going to tie the two ends together in a knot now that my stitching is done. I just did one knot, not a double knot. Then I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue here, right over the two ends, so they lay over the little stitches right next to them. Now this adhesive dries clear. This is Gina K Connect. You could use any liquid adhesive you have. And I just kind of flatten them down onto the stitches next to them. When they dry, I trim off the excess, and look, you barely see it, super fast, and that adhesive dries very quickly. Okay, so now I realized I forgot to attach his little paws as I went around doing my stitching. That's okay, I'm just going to go ahead and add them on top now. I will just do the two stitches on the front, tie the ends together on the back, and then use that glue once again to hide the little ends. Stitching projects like this is something that's great to take on the go or even to do with your kids. Lila loves to do these, and they really don't take that much time since there isn't much stitching. I'm using these dies today to create cards, to create shaped cards, but you can use them to create little plush critters. So you can stitch this out of felt, put some stuffing on the inside, and have this cute little plush character. So much fun to make, but I wanted to show you how you can get more out of these dies. So once my glue is dry here, I'm just trimming off the excess, and you can see the back of the card looks very nice, just like the front of the card, nice and clean. Okay, so next it's time to add the little parts to our little pup. I put his little face and nose and ears on. Some of these elements I did cut from felt just for a little bit of texture, but the rest of the card is made from cardstock. I also used little enamel dots for the eyes just for a little bit of dimension. Okay, so I wanted to add a smiley face to this guy. I don't know why. So I actually used his paw die, and I'm cutting it from black felt. Once it comes through, I'm going to cut it that same piece of felt again, just slightly offset with the same die. Run it through my die cut machine again, and I end up with like this little C piece. So it looks like a little smiley face. You could hand cut that if you want to, but I thought cheating with the die was an easier way to go. Trimming the smile down a bit, and then I'll just glue that on with some liquid adhesive. Now I would recommend like a fabric liquid adhesive, but I didn't have any, so I'm just using my Gina K Connect. You don't need much adhesive to hold these in place. Next, I've die cut a bunch of different shapes from the dies sets I showed you earlier in this video. For the lollipop stick, I cut from white craft foam. These dies cut craft foam great. For the top of the lollipop, I'm using the stitched heart. I actually cut this from cardstock and felt, and I'm stitching them together. I'm going to go around one side, going up and down every other. Then I'll reverse it and fill in the gaps, just like I did around the pup. The reason I stitched the felt heart onto the cardstock heart is so it would have some stability. Here I'm putting together my felt bow. I just glue the bow down to the back piece. I'll wrap the center around it, and this will create a fun dimensional felt bow. He's so cute. You could even cut this and create the bow from cardstock if you prefer. Now it's time to glue our little lollipop together here. I'm using that same strong liquid adhesive. You could use multi-medium, you could use any kind of strong adhesive you have. Adding the little craft foam lollipop stick. Here I'm adding the bow. I will hold that together for a while to make sure that it stays put. Now I'm going to put him into the little pup's hand, and I will add lots of strong adhesive to the back of that so that it stays put, so this lollipop doesn't come out of his hand. Next, I'll add the Hey Sweetie die cut that I created from yellow cardstock and glue that right to the front. So here you can see the finished card. He opens up nicely and stands on his little feet too. In the inside, I stamped the sentiment that says, "I hope this puts a smile on your face," and it's from an older WPlus9 bird stamp set. Now you'll see that he's a little too big for a regular envelope, so I'll use either a 5x7 envelope or a 6x6 envelope. Both options would work great, but I thought it was worth it to have that little lollipop in his hand. Okay, my next example is a felt card that doesn't open like a normal card. Instead, that little pink heart comes out and that opens up to show the greeting. This one is very easy and fun to put together. So I've cut two pups, one from brown cardstock and one from brown felt. I'm using the cardstock to add some stability to the felt. The best part about this is I'm just going to do regular stitching here all the way around. So I will go up and down every other hole. Once I reach the end, I will just reverse it and fill in the gaps. Very easy, just stitch around it completely in whatever kind of stitch you like to do the most. I will say if you are going to create a card out of felt like this one, I do recommend a high quality felt. High quality felts seem to die cut better. I'll link to the WPlus9 felts that I use. She's got a great selection of colors that are perfect for card making. Okay, so I used some of the other dies in the set to cut from some cardstock and some felt. These dies cut both beautifully. Again, you can use any die cut machine you may have. I'm using my Gemini Junior simply because I love it and I can cut a bunch of things at once and it always cuts like butter. Now remember, the pup doesn't open up like a card, the heart does. So I have one of my heart cardstock die cuts here and I'm doing a little score line towards the top. So I end up with two tiny little flaps at the top of my heart. I'll use my bone folder here just to kind of crease them, and I'll put some strong double-sided tape on those little flaps. You could use strong liquid adhesive also. Next, I'll take another heart of pink cardstock, the same size, and I'll put it right on top. And here we have a little heart card that has that nice little hinge on the top. You could also use a partial die cutting technique, but this creates a perfect shaped heart. I'm going to decorate the front of this little heart. So I have a pink die cut felt piece here that I'm doing some stitching on. I would say it is better to back your felt with cardstock when you do the stitching. Otherwise you have to be really gentle with your stitching, as I had to be here. Putting little pieces of tape on the back of the ends here. I did the stitching just like I showed you earlier. I did every other stitch and then I reversed it and filled in the gaps. I also die cut some leaves and flowers from the same die set. I'm using some liquid adhesive to glue them into place. You don't need to use a lot of adhesive. I added a few fun stitches to this little die cut flower. It's two yellow die cut flowers cut from felt, and I'm adding a little button to it. You can add any kind of fun stitching you want to any of these just to enhance it, or you can keep it simple by skipping that part. These little stitches I'm putting on the leaves, none of the dies cut the holes for these stitches. I'm just adding them myself. You can easily press your needle through the felt to do this. So you can always add as much detail as you want. Next, I'm decorating my little pink card here with some white ink and this little tiny image from this WPlus9 Happy Bird set. I had this set out anyways for the sentiment, so I thought I'd use this little accent stamp to add white dots. I finished my little stitched heart and I'm adding it to the front with some liquid adhesive. You just want to press that down until it dries, and it dries pretty quickly. So here is the finished little pup. Now this little pup is flat. Remember, he doesn't open up like a card, but instead the heart that he is holding opens up to reveal a message inside. You could simplify this by skipping the stitching that I did with the flowers on the front of the heart and keeping it very simple by just putting a sentiment there. But boy, was this one fun to create. I do have a Stitch by Jennifer McGuire stamp that I put on the back of my stitched cards. That one I had made for me, and I'll link to a great source below in my description. And you can see he fits into an envelope perfectly. Okay, my next example is very similar to the one that I showed you, with a few different changes. On this one, I have him holding a cute little ice cream cone using that WPlus9 ice cream cone stamp or die set that I showed you earlier. Now, to give the ice cream cone some stability, I die cut everything from cardstock and from felt, and then I glued them together before I did the stitching. You don't need much glue, just a little tiny bit. I really like the little stitch details that you can add to the ice cream cone. It creates the little stitching holes to do this little X pattern on the front of the ice cream cone that makes it look very realistic. If you don't have felt, you can do all of this from cardstock and it'll still look lovely. I just really like the texture felt adds. Since the back of my ice cream cone looks a little rough, I cut another cone and I'm just going to glue him on the back. This one is cardstock, and that gives it a nice finished look. It ends up that the back of the cone doesn't really show with the design that I have, but at this point I wasn't sure. I also added little sprinkles to the ice cream that's on top of our cone here, and that die cuts those little sprinkles too. I like it because you can cut the sprinkles with it or without it, since the dies are not attached. I'm backing the back of my little stitched ice cream with another piece of white cardstock, just a solid piece. And I'll use some strong liquid adhesive to glue the ice cream onto the cone. You'll see that my white little pup looks just like the pup I did earlier, but with white felt. And again, he's holding a little pink note card. I again did the 2 pink hearts with the hinge on the top, so it's a little card that opens up. And I'm gluing my ice cream cone right to the front of this. Next, I'm adding a Sweet on You die cut sentiment and just gluing that to the front of the heart. So this little heart and the ice cream cone slides out nicely, and check it out, I put a little gift card to an ice cream store inside of it. So he's holding both the little pink card and the gift card. Now you could skip the pink card and just put a gift card between his paws. It fits absolutely perfectly. I like having both options. This is such a special way to make a gift card a little more special by having something handmade hold it. Okay, my next example is another card. So he opens up like a card, but this little panda is holding a giant flower on the front. This time, I'm using the Panda plush dies from WPlus9, and the legs are separate from the body. So I cut the legs from black cardstock and black felt, and I'm gluing the black felt to the black cardstock. This is what's going to allow the card to stand up. So I need to make sure his legs are strong. I'm also backing his paws with some cardstock, but the rest of it I'm just going to glue together. So here are his eyes, and I'll also add his little ears. Now for the panda himself, I'm going to do the exact same technique I did on the first card, where I do a little score line on part of the bear. This time I'm scoring him across the top, so he'll open up vertically, whereas the pup that I did earlier opened on the side. So I have the 2 pieces here. I'm going to stitch the felt to the front. So before I just did completely cardstock, this time I'm doing felt and cardstock on the front. And I'll do the same stitching technique that I did before. I'll stitch along everything except the top of the little bear because that's where the hinge is. I'm putting liquid adhesive on that little hinge now that all my stitching is done. And I'll glue the front to the back, and then I'll finish off the stitching on the top. I think I like this format for creating the little critter shaped card because it opens upward and you end up with little feet that stand even better than the first card that I made. I just really wanted to show you both options. So I glued some black cardstock feet to the back of the card. On the front, I'll glue the little felt pieces that are backed with black cardstock. So here I'm putting a little bit of glue on top, and I'll glue him to the front of the card, making sure that they line up with the legs that I put on the back of the card. So this is how he'll stand up on these little legs, and I think it would be so fun to make the little puppies and the pigs and the pandas all like this, and then line them up on a shelf on my daughter's room. I think that would be so cute, and I think I might have to make those this weekend with her help. Now in the Panda die set, there are the dies to create this fun little flower. So I stitched him with cardstock and felt, and I'm putting him into the paws and then using liquid adhesive to glue him in place. You could turn this flower into a little card, but I decided to glue him in place since the panda himself is a card. So here is the finished card. I stamped missing you on the inside of the card, but I messed it up, so I stamped missing you on a cardstock strip and glued it over the area I messed up. You can see here how he stands so nicely on his little feet. I really like this format, and I plan to do more like this also. Next, I just wanted to show you a few more examples. For this card, I used the Plush pup set to create the pig, since all the dies are included to make that too. I die cut from pink felt, and I stitched him, but I cut off the bottom half of the pig so I could put it on the front of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch note card. So I did the stitching, glued him to the card. I added some pink die cut felt hearts that I did some stitching on. I added an older WPlus9 hay die cut to the front and a sentiment on the inside from the WPlus9 Forest Friends stamp set. This one's very quick to do since you're only doing the stitching on the upper half of the pig, and it's another way you can use these dies. Now before we go, I have one more example to show you. I'm just going to show you the finished card since this video is long enough as is, but it shows how just adding some stitched and felt elements can really enhance a card. So for this one, I used the cactus dies from WPlus9, and I die cut them from cardstock and from felt and glued the pieces together. I then added some fun stitching, which really didn't take long since there's very little stitching to do. I glued the pieces onto a white rectangle cardstock piece, and then you check out those little pink flowers on the top. Those little pink felt die cut flowers are cut with a little flower from the die set, and then I glued these little pink beads on the top just for some dimension. I added a white hello die cut, which is from an older WPlus9 die, and it was perfect right on top. I really liked the texture of this one and how quick it was to pull together. So you can use a lot of these stitching dies and felt and a bit of stitching to create very simple cards, but the stitching adds so much to them. Okay, I apologize for the long video, but I really wanted to show you many ways to use these stitch dies to create shaped cards. I hope they inspire you. Please be sure to check the description below for the supplies that I use, but go to my blog for more photos of the many cards that I showed you today. Also be sure to check out the WPlus9 blog, which I'll link to below, because they have a lot of great inspiring ideas there. Thanks for spending time with me. I hope you return again soon and have a wonderful week.